We no longer have intelligence services. We have a combined body that does intelligence, yes, which is useful in many cases, but it's also a counterterrorism service, it's also a propaganda service, it's also a covert action service, and it's doing all of these things that are actually fundamentally in conflict with intelligence gathering. A prime example that could not be more relevant today, of course, is cybersecurity. You have the agency that is in charge of hacking people, that is also in charge of protecting people from being hacked.
We can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Organisms, whether viruses or bananas or humans, they are really just biochemical algorithms. And we are learning how to decipher these algorithms. When the infotech revolution merges with the biotech revolution, what you get is the ability to hack human beings. Now, what do you need in order to hack a human being? You need two things. You need a lot of computing power, and you need a lot of data, especially biometric data. Not data about what I buy or where I go, but data about what is happening inside my body and inside my brain. And maybe the most important invention for the merger of infotech and biotech is the biometric sensor that translates biochemical processes in the body and the brain into electronic signals that a computer can store and analyze.
Elon Musk wants to download your brain with an idea to implant our brains with computer chips. For some people, it's a sci-fi step too far.
And we can effectively achieve a sort of symbiosis with artificial intelligence before the end of next year. And then the interface to the chip is wireless. So you have no wires poking out of your head. It's basically Bluetooths to your phone.
Action potentials produce an electric field that spreads from the neuron and can be detected by placing electrodes nearby, allowing recording of the information represented by a neuron.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy.
What is DARPA? DARPA is the high-tech research branch of the Pentagon. And I'm currently the office director in the Biological Technologies Office. And like many of my other colleagues that are at DARPA, my journey to the agency was an opportunity to expand the impact of the work that I was doing in neurotechnology, find new avenues that it could be applied. To a person like me, the brain is not a black box. The brain's not just this goop in between your ears. It's a very intricate and elegant signaling of all of these neurons. And what we've done at DARPA is develop the technology in order to sense these signals in real time or even write signals into the brain.
What we're here to talk about today is the fact that the brain is and will be the 21st century battlescape in many ways. End of story. You will encounter some form of neurocognitive science that has been weaponized not only in your military career but in your personal and professional lives. It is valid, valuable, and already in operational play. The brain is the current and future battle space. What's new about this is the in-close nature of this. Increasingly, we're not seeing these things as weapons of mass destruction against gross aspects of the population. More specifically, perhaps, might be targeting individuals on a level that allows either direct attribution or covert engagement with non-attribution. Probably the one that you've heard about most recently, most contemporaneously in the literature, is the possibility to use some form of directed energy to affect physiology peripherally and also to affect the physiology and health of the brain. Case in point here, U.S. Embassy personnel in Havana and possibly in China.
What does the badge signify?
This is my Diplomatic Security Service badge.
These are State Department and Commerce Department officials.
Put your hands on your hips and close your eyes.
And their stories are incredibly compelling. And their medical records are incredibly compelling.
So tell me, how are you feeling right now?
I'm not feeling well. Not at all. I'm nauseous, dizzy, I have a headache. My equilibrium is a bit off.
Strong nausea and headache and dizziness.
You have trouble retrieving words?
I do, yeah, significant trouble.
So debilitating that it feels like your head is being split open. So debilitating that I couldn't sleep. I was thinking, what is wrong with me? Something's wrong.
DARPA let a couple of contracts back in 2011, 2012 to the University of California for what's called electronic telepathy, being able to monitor the brain activity of human beings at a distance and determine what they're thinking. And then on a second contract, actually developing complex signals, being able to send them into the brain of another person, literally transmit a message. This is where the technology is today.
I can disrupt an individual from the level of their cell to their system, and disrupt individuals on a variety of levels, from individuals all the way up to the social fabric. Target a specific individual, change or eliminate that individual with very little attribution and trace, and be able to leave prior to any attribution. Clearly, one of the things we can also do is transcranial neuromodulation, the idea of going through the skull to modulate the node and network activity of the brain, to implant certain brain-machine interfaces. These are many of the DARPA programs that you may hear of now. Probably the one that is most notorious is something called the N3 program, which is the non-invasive neurosurgical neuromodulation program being run by their program manager, Dr. Al Mundy. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely. And by affecting the way that brain is built and the way it functions, influence in ways that are kinetic and non-kinetic, the attitudes, beliefs, thoughts, emotions, activities. Look at the power that understanding, tools, and techniques the brain sciences afford.
Speaking of mind control, is that Facebook's next potential step? I mean, they seem to be getting into just about everything else.
And that includes work around direct brain interfaces that are going to eventually one day let you communicate using only your mind.
Social media giant Facebook is in the process of acquiring Control Labs, a neural interface startup, between $500 million to a reported $1 billion. The startup is known for its software, which enables users to control computer devices with their brain.
We took the electrical activity of the brain directly, decode that electrical activity, and use that to directly control devices. That's the heart of a neural interface.
Facebook is looking for more natural, intuitive ways to work with different devices and wants to build this kind of technology at scale.
One of the newest developments is that nanoparticulate matter can be stabilized for distribution. If you're not aware of what nanoparticulate matter is, it's that matter which exists on a scale of 1 × 10⁹. Very, very small. Smaller than a cell. And we can manufacture materials that have discrete properties that can be controlled by virtue of bioengineering and their physical chemistry. To auto-aggregate, to be able to aggregate in particular areas based upon their biological and or chemical sensitivity. But now we go one step further. Most recently, just a few weeks ago, it was announced that you could then aerosolize nanomaterials. And go one step further, I can create small robotic units, controllable robotic units at the nanoscale, and that these too can be aerosolized to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, can be then uptaken into the vascular system to create clumping, can affect the vascular system of the brain, or can directly diffuse into the brain space, and these can be weaponized.
I'm going to show you some software that I wrote. I'm going to show you some of the parameters I experiment with. The learning rate obviously can cause learning disabilities. This is a genetic factor. It can be altered in many different ways. Forgetfulness, we can create dementia, Alzheimer's, and other neurological problems. Pleasure causes runaway reward process, such as addictions and other things. And I want to talk a little bit about pain and fear. Schizophrenia, very easy to create. You can do one technique called an information overload, and that is training it with too much data with too few neurons. Or you can add this other parameter, external energy or external noise.
We also see the use of biodata as a viable weapon. manipulating biodata so that I can then put into your particular medical records subtle information that may change the disposition of whether you're sick or not, change how you're treated, influence the postures that go to you in terms of insurance, care, viability for military service. By altering that information, by changing those data, by purloining those data, I essentially change the you of you. And I can do that in very subtle and insidious ways. Furthermore, I can do that on a variety of different levels that can affect key individuals so that in fact your medical record changes to thereby render you incapable or at least invalid to be able to serve in a way you're serving. Or I can do that on a much larger scale, groups, populations. And if I change those data, I change the way you're being regarded and treated. And I can do that in one of two ways. I can do it in such a way that you're going to be regarded in a negative sense, or I can do that in such a way that I'm going to treat you incorrectly. If I say, for example, you have a particular allergy or you have a particular disorder, you will be treated for that, and that could then harm your health and your stability in both a short wars approach as well as a long wars approach.
Today, data is the most important asset in the world. Those who control the data control the future not just of humanity, but the future of life itself. The IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud, these are the new driving forces of evolution. You will not be able to hide from Amazon and Alibaba and the secret police.
Will neural enhancement be considered a personal choice like laser eye surgery or even braces? Will there be a huge disconnect between the neural enhanced haves and the have-nots? In the future, will neural enhancement or some form of neural enhancements be considered a right, instead of a personal choice? These are just some of the questions that we have to think about, and they're not just questions for the technologists here, they're questions for all of us. So imagine in the future you had a direct neural interface, and that direct neural interface gets you off your couch in a virtual way, enables you to explore virtual worlds just through your direct neural interface. And we've got game controllers and cameras that do this now, but it's nowhere near the kinds of things that I'm talking about here. Again, exploring your cognitive space in this virtual world could be transformative. What if you could even connect to your friends all across the globe through your direct neural interface and kind of explore what that would actually be? We know that these technologies are extremely powerful, and we also know that they can be used for good or for ill.
Always remember, with knowledge comes great responsibility. You actually know how to take over the world now.